Okay, so chances are, if you're watching this, you're probably debating on going and seeing Elvis. Well, I'm here to help you make that sound decision so you can spend your hard-earned time and money on a worthy cause, which is darn good entertainment. So to save you time, I'll just tell you right away, I think Elvis, it's worth seeing in theaters. Now, if that's all you needed, I beg you to go have a great time at the theater. But if you want to hear my full thoughts on the movie, feel free to stick around to the very end. I'm thinking there'll be some stuff that you'll want to hear. And friends, if you find this video helpful or valuable, I'd be honored if you consider clicking the like button so people just like you are able to find it. Alright, so I'm going to give you what the movie's about, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, then in the end, I'll give you an overall score. So let's start off with this. What is Elvis about? Elvis is the story and legacy of Elvis Presley, famous pop culture icon and rock and roll legend who was taken away from the world too soon at the young age of 42. The movie takes you by and large throughout his entire life from birth all the way till his dying days in 1977 and touches upon his milestones like his roots, where he came from, the early parts of his career, the relationship he forms with his manager Colonel Tom Parker, trials and tribulations with his family and his rise to fame, the highlights of his career, the lowlights of his career, his evolution, and really what made him unique. And this film really makes it one big package and wraps it in about 2 hours and 39 minutes. And really that's about it in a nutshell. So let me get into what I really enjoyed about Elvis. I thought Tom Hanks and Austin Butler really carried the movie as the leads very, very nicely. They're both having a ton of fun in their respective roles. Austin Butler nails the accent of Elvis. I really thought he truly embodied the spirit of Elvis and his rock and roll vibes. He just brought a ton of energy to the role by and large, and even in the mannerisms of Elvis, I thought he sported quite nicely. He just did a great job of making me a believer that he could actually be Elvis. And additionally, Tom Hanks really nails the sleazeball role that he plays in this movie as Colonel Tom Parker. It's not really normal for us as an audience to see Tom Hanks play such a sleazeball of a role. Normally, he's the really lovable good guy, but in this movie, he plays kind of a caricature of a bad guy, and it's done really well. He really gets you to understand just how big of a con man Colonel Tom Parker was, and you really start to hate him by the end of the movie, which if an actor can get you to feel something about that said character by the end, they've done their job really well. And if you don't walk out of this movie strongly disliking Colonel Tom Parker, I'd be very surprised. Tom Hanks is just really convincing in the role by and large. Additionally, I thought this movie had a lot of moments of brilliance where it takes these scenes and it turns each of them into their own spectacular, nuanced, mini story. It does a great job of highlighting the biggest moments of Elvis's life between his start and his end, and it really takes the time to go through each of those and really razz it up and make it dramatic and a spectacle. There's a lot of build up to these moments, there's a lot of teardown to these moments, and it really makes it feel like an embodied experience. And although this formula isn't applied to every single scene in the movie, it's utilized really well in quite a few of them. In fact, I would argue that it's probably utilized in a few too many of them, which is a great transition. What did I not like so much about Elvis? The film's biggest crime for me was the pacing. I thought the pacing was quite ludicrous. First of all, I think the movie being at 2 hours 39 minutes was way too long. Although I think the movie does adequately take the time to highlight some of Elvis's bigger milestones and make those scenes a little bit elongated, I think it does it a little bit too often and it really drags out the runtime. It gets to the point where some of these milestones are just beaten to death and are really doubled the time that they should have been. The scenes just have a habit of making their point pretty early on, and after its point is made, it just keeps on going for what feels like another 15 minutes, and it's just ludicrous. And for me, it just really dragged down the experience because 2 hours 39 minutes is long for many movies and for many people like myself. By the time we get to the end of the movie, I was kind of begging for it to end because I just thought it kept meandering and meandering, especially in the second half. Which brings me into kind of the double-edged sword of this point, which is I thought the movie's pacing was really awkward. I think the first half moves a little bit too fast. In Elvis's younger days, it kind of just spurts through it really quickly. In the formative years of Elvis, those are the times when I think that he was really made who he was and it really created the special person that he was. And the movie in some cases does take an adequate amount of time to talk about it, but in other instances it just kind of skips over some things really quickly. And I get it, it's a movie. You can't spend a whole lot of time on each and every scene, and I would argue that given the case in this movie, it shouldn't have done so. But I thought the choices as to what to go through really quickly and what to really elongate were made really strangely in this film. It's as though they spent a lot of time on areas that were not very interesting and a little time on areas that were the most interesting in some cases. And I just thought it really inconsistent by and large. And additionally, I thought some of the characters in the movie kind of came out of nowhere. At about 2/3 of the way into the film, or about halfway through, you get introduced to about 3 new characters that seem to have come just out of thin air. At one point, Elvis starts talking to this other character, and I never recall seeing him throughout the first half of the movie, and I just couldn't find an explanation for where they originated from. I like the character. I thought they were an excellent additive piece to the movie, but it just seemed like they literally, they just popped out of nowhere, and I was really confused and lost for quite a while. In fact, to this point, even a day after watching it, I still don't know who that character really was. I just know they're an integral piece to Elvis's story, but it's really hard to get latched onto them when you don't even know where they came from in the first place. It just felt a little odd and out of place to me. So friends, in the end, I promised an overall score. I'm going to say that Elvis is a 6 out of 10. It's definitely worth seeing. It won't change your life. It's not one of the best musical biopics I've seen, but for Elvis and non-Elvis fans, I think there's definitely something for you to enjoy in this movie. Friends, thank you so much for watching this video. If this was valuable or helpful, I'd be honored if you consider clicking the like button so people just like you are able to find it. Or if you like this movie review and you want to see others just like it, feel free to click these end cards or the links down in the description below for your viewing pleasure. This has been the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I've been Bryson. Until next time, have a great day.